welcome to Connected Conversations for Creatives, a place where creatives like you can learn, grow, and connect. I'm your host, Jennifer Carr. Have you ever felt the pressure to top your own success? It's a common thread among creatives, whether you're an artist, musician, writer, or any kind of creator. After a successful project, there's an expectation, often both internal and external, to do even better the next time. But where does this pressure come from? Is it driven by our own desire to perfect our craft and share something we love with the world, or is it fueled by the expectations of publishers, readers, or an ever-watchful audience? Today, we're diving into the often stressful world of creating a sequel or a second work. For many, the first creation is a labor of love, a journey of discovery, but the second, it brings its own unique set of challenges. It's the process that could be easier the second time around because you've learned from your experience, or maybe the knowledge of what's at stake made it more daunting. Mentally, do we find ourselves more prepared, or are we haunted by the need to meet or exceed past achievements? Logistically, does the familiarity with the process streamline our efforts, or do the new obstacles arise that we hadn't anticipated? Our guest today is someone who knows this journey intimately. Jessica K. Foster writes funny, heartfelt young adult contemporary fiction with a dash of romance. She's also a middle school language arts teacher with a penchant for hot tea and romantic beach reads. Living in West Michigan with her husband, 2 boys, and their ragtag crew of rescue animals, Jessica has found a way to balance her creative passions with her everyday life. Her first book captured the hearts of many, and now her second book, Andy and the Summer of Something, is set to release on July 16th. I'm personally really excited about this book, and I know many of you are too, and today I'm hoping Jessica will share her insights and experiences about the pressures and joys of releasing her second book. So get comfortable, grab a cup of tea, and join us as we delve into the mind and heart of a talented creator navigating the journey of her second release. Jessica, welcome back to the show, and I love that you are here again for so many reasons.
Well, thank you so much for having me. We had a ball last time, didn't we?
We did, and I have been counting down the days because, I'm winding down my recording schedule, even though your episode comes towards the beginning of the season, and I was like, can we just get to the good part? Can we just get to our conversation, please? Because what I really want to start off asking is, who does Andy choose? That's my first, but I'm not going to ask that. I'm not going to ask, but I am going to ask you to tell the listeners about yourself and how you found yourself a published author the first time around.
All right. So I've been writing for a while, and for a while I just wrote for myself, to be perfectly honest. And I didn't really consider a whole lot of sharing. And, there were actually a couple of books that have never seen anyone but myself and maybe my mom or my friends, you know what I mean? But at some point, I kind of decided, well, what's the harm? What's the harm in seeing if anybody else might like to read this, right? Yeah. And so then went through sort of a process of querying agents, trying to figure out that whole landscape, looking at small publishers versus large publishers versus, what did I want? Did I want to self-publish? Did I want, and then, ultimately kind of made the business decision of I kind of just didn't want to front the cost.
That's fair.
And so I was like, let's see if we can go some sort of traditionally published route, right? Had an agent for a little while, and COVID hit. And everything was thrown into a tailspin, and ultimately parted ways on good terms with that agent. We just wanted different things at that time for my writing career and for her agenting career, which is fine. And then found myself sort of in the headlights of an up-and-coming publisher, Winding Road Stories, after a Twitter pitching contest. It was called Mood Pit, where you basically made mood boards. And they actually requested 2 manuscripts of mine. And they read them both, and they said, oh, we like this one. Not the other one, but we like this one. And we had a phone call, and that's fine. Honestly, because everybody's so oh, that's my baby book. Mm-hmm. I haven't actually had a baby book. Yeah. I love all the books that I write, but there hasn't been one where I'm oh, I'll die if it gets changed, or I'll die if it doesn't get published. Because I write more for myself than anyone else, and I've already read it. So, well,
more than once, probably.
Right.
Yes.
But Andy and the Extroverts, which this is the first novel, Andy and the Extroverts, was picked up by my publisher. We went through the whole process together, and it was fantastic and so fun, and they're incredibly supportive. And then after Andy was done, I think it was a combination of the people who had read Andy and my publisher and myself. We all kind of decided, like, though it was meant to be standalone, because it was meant to just be like one and done. There was kind of a call for like, no, like we need a sequel.
I was one of those people.
Everyone's like, no, we need a sequel. And I'm like, well, it ends realistically. Don't you want it to end realistically? And everyone said, no, we don't. I'm like, well, and so the idea for Andy 2, we call it Andy 2. My publisher and I we call it Andy 2, even though it's called Andy in the Summer of Something. Sorry, there's something on my lens. Then that was sort of like born. And then they asked me to write basically a rough outline for them and pitch it to them in what I wanted to do. And that was very new for me because I'm kind of a pantser. So I was like, dang, I gotta read Save the Cat. I gotta like actually like go through and outline a book here, like a full book, like telling you what the end is when I'm not really super sure what the end is. And so I did that. I was like, okay, this is the direction I'm thinking about. Qualifier, I will probably start writing it and it will be different.
Don't get attached.
And then they come back with, do you not outline all the way? And I go, oh no, I never do. It seemed like that's what you wanted. And they were like, you didn't have to do that for us. And I'm like, oh, I thought that I did. So it did actually end up staying pretty true to my outline, which is crazy because that's not normal for me.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, a lot of scenes came and went and things were cut and things were added, and a couple of things that were a pretty major did kind of shift. They didn't change entirely, but they did shift. And then it was really like a fast process because not this last November, but the November before, I used it as my NaNoWriMo.
Oh, nice.
And then pushed it through alpha readers, then through beta readers, then straight to my publisher. And that's fast for me because I'm a person who revises usually twice as long as I write, if not more. Like I'll revise for a year and a half. Like, wow. I'm not gonna, I don't skimp on revisions.
Yeah. Good for you,
but I had an editor and she's like, that's what I'm for. And I'm like, okay, fair. So we did, and then we did do some like holistic edits on it as well before we got to line editing, which I think was very good. Because she pointed out some things I had not thought about. And I'm like, oh, wow. Good call.
Nice. So are you going to outline your next one? Like, is that are you going to keep that same method, or you're like, no, that's not
that. Okay. So the next book that's coming out is already written. And actually I wrote it before I wrote even Andy and the Extroverts. It's basically a piece of my backlist that's being published. So I
Nice.
Don't have to worry about that one. I'm actually working on, like, everybody's always got a WIP, right? Like, we've always got one,
At least
right?
one.
I'm working on one. Did I outline it? No. You would think that I would just learn, because when you outline and you do all the character profiles and you do all of the like world building, etc., prior to, it takes a lot of the work out in revision, but it also takes a lot of the joy out for me.
Right.
Because I'm a what if writer. Like, oh, this is boring right now. What if I, right? So because I'm a what if writer, that doesn't always work for me. So I'm still firmly in what if, but I always start with knowing the stakes.
Yeah.
And the conflict and how I generally want it to end up. And because I like to write romance, it's gonna end pretty nicely usually.
Obviously.
So,
even
right?
if it's a cliffhanger that makes you go, will she, won't she, who will she? I don't know.
Everybody thinks that Andy one was a cliffhanger, but it was just meant to be and that is that. You know what I mean? But no. And so we've got Andy in the Summer of Something. It is coming out in July. These are my advanced copies for my publisher, but yeah.
Listen, I was so jealous. I saw you did an event and people were they were able to buy, and I was like, Wonder
Yep.
how I could get up to Michigan real fast. I was like, it wasn't in the cards, but I was like, Dad, gum.
Yeah, I begged
Because
for them early because I don't do that many. I know I should do more fairs. I know I
yeah.
should. But I also have a young family. Like my
Mm-hmm.
kids are 10 and 8. I have puppies and a kitty and a husband who's really active, and we like to do a lot of things, and
Yeah.
the time that we have to do it is summer because I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to commit myself to any more than like 3 4 at most per year. So
Yeah, that's fair. Those things, they're so time consuming and it's such a risk, right? Because you never know. Yours, I guess, it looked like it was outdoors, which is even a bigger risk. Like down here, it would
that
be
one
a
was
huge
pretty.
risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There have been times I hear from other authors. I have been blessed with lots of nice, hot, dry weather, which I know some people even hate, actually, because they don't like hot. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
in Michigan, you have like such a small window.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and then we are in rain or we are in snow.
Right.
So
Yeah, your outdoor events are like, okay, all back to back probably. Same week.
pretty, you would think they would be actually, but I did this one, which is like the earliest one. I mean, I don't even know of any earlier ones in Michigan. I think that they're brave for doing a June 1, like, because it could have easily been 40 degrees, like, because we have that kind of swing in June. It could have been 40, it could have been 90.
That's
Last
wild.
year, last year it was 98 degrees with a real feel of 105, and it was so humid that the authors like couldn't even hack it, because when you go to
That you're not
fairs, a
used to
lot of
that.
the authors are over 60 years old, and
Yes.
they're like, why are we here? What is happening? This year it was beautiful. It was perfect weather, actually. So
Oh, that's awesome.
we
Yeah.
got lucky.
We have events like we start because it's Alabama. And so it is hot and it is humid. But now, this time of year, the afternoon, like my phone told me before I logged on, I was like, oh, look, a thunderstorm warning has been issued for your location because it's that time of year where that's going to be every afternoon and evening from here on out. And so
Yep.
we try not to do events that are going to be outdoor for that reason as well. And it's such a risk because people are like, they check their weather forecast and it's like, I don't think I'm going to show up today. And then you're just sitting there with all of these books and all of this setup and you're going,
Yeah.
now what do I do?
Yeah. The next one I'm going to is actually indoors, so
Nice.
I'm feeling pretty confident on that one. That's in
That's
August. So
excellent. Yeah,
um,
I love events. I love doing events. And the one that I have done as an author, like I used to do network marketing events all the time and I loved it. The one author event I've done, it was not advertised well, but it was a great opportunity to network with other authors. And so I thought,
mhm.
that's the one thing I took away from it was it was worth it to get my feet wet, but to also just kind of see how other authors do the job. Is that something you do at your events when you go, or is it strictly customer focused?
I would say it's like a hybrid. I am. This is about as comfortable as I get with other people. We do really well. You and me, we're great.
Yeah, because I
I'm
feel
so
you,
much
babe.
I'm so much better like this than I
Mm-hmm.
am in real life because so basically what ends up happening anytime I go to a fair is I look lost. I always look fully lost. I'm not always lost. It's just the look on my face,
Right.
I think. Like I just like I am like I just am that person who's just like uh and so there's always like a tent mother who's like been doing it for 10, 20 years who's like, oh, do you need tape? Do you need like a tablecloth holder? How about if you arrange your books like this? And then I just let them mother me,
I
which
mean,
is like, I know that's terrible, but at the same time not, because then I get to know them. I get to know what they're writing. I
yeah.
get to know like what their experiences are and how many books they sell on average and where they go to sell their books and that type of
Yeah.
thing. Not a lot of times do I get paired with somebody who writes the same genre as me. So
Sure.
not all of that information is always useful to me. But I'm actually going to a new event in Michigan. It's new this year. It's in Harbor Springs, Michigan, and it's called the Romance in Northern Michigan event or something like that. So it's all like romance, young adult
Nice.
through spicy as heck.
Love
And
it.
it's all like romance. So I'm going to be on like that innocent side. So I
Yeah.
fully expect there to be another tent mother who's going to take me under their wing.
You know there will be. I have put my name on several lists, but that is the problem, and they're all romance cons or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm on that clean side of romance, clean whatever, the closed door or whatever. And,
right, and I'm on the YA side, so I feel you. Yep.
Yeah, and it's new adult, so it's a very niche place to be. But I'm just like, you know what? I would love it because there are I don't know. I kind of struggle though because it's like an 18 plus crowd is allowed. That's it. You have to be 18 years old to get in. And I was like,
yeah,
okay.
They can buy it for their college daughters,
yeah,
teenage daughters. Then like just
sure,
tell them like this one's for you, mom, and then like over here go buy this, ladies, and then this one's for your like
do not enter this. Yeah. Oh. So I've got my name out there, but I haven't heard back, and I'm like, it's fine because I don't know. It's that weird genre. And so have you found yourself struggling to find your niche too, or your YA is a little easier, I guess.
YA's, I think YA is a little easier, but here's the thing. I know that like publishing has gone through like these trends of NA is not a thing, NA is a thing. NA is so a thing.
It's a thing.
It is like, we're just calling it YA, but it's NA and it's there and it's amazing. And I love NA. It is one of my favorite things to read. I like spicy NA though. Like,
yeah.
I love like, although that's not necessarily true actually. What did I read the other day that was closed door and it was NA and I was like, oh, and I loved it so much. I can't remember, but it needs to be your book. Yours is on my list. It's coming. It's happening.
It's there.
It is
right there.
It's actually next on my purchase list right now, so it's gonna happen. And then maybe next time when we chat, I can gush all over your book too. So. But yeah, but which one do you want me to buy though? Because you have multiple out now.
Well, I do. Well, I have 3 out, but the first 2 are a series. But right now, like, I love this is my NA. Fall When You're Ready. It's my NA.
Okay, so that's the one that's on my list. So
yes.
That works out. Okay, great. That's awesome.
That's the one.
Because that was the one that I saw you like, you were like, I don't know, was it Facebook? It was somewhere. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, click.
Yeah. It's my country music series, it kind of centralizes on country music. And so.
I love country music. I love all music. It's a beautiful thing. So
it's a reality television show for country music, and so it's kind of American Idol meets Nashville. So
I love that.
Yeah,
that's great. That'll be fun.
Okay, I want to talk about your book though real quick. So when you wrote the second one, so the first one, I love it. It has to do with summer camp, and she's forced to go to the summer camp for extroverts, and she's an introvert, and God love her, bless her soul. Like, I felt that so deeply in my heart and every part of my being. I thought, Andy, girl. But in the end, she comes out, she's better for it. It was a great experience. So what's coming up in the second book? Like, did you have a hard time maintaining her personality into the second book? Or did she just embrace the new Andy? Was there a struggle there? Like, cause
so
without giving too much away, obviously.
Yeah, the way that I approached that, and I actually talked with my publisher about it a little bit too, because I wanted to make sure they saw where I was coming from so they could help me edit it.
Yeah, that's fair.
My publisher has thoughts, and then my editor has thoughts, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of thoughts.
Everybody's got
we all have thoughts, and it's good though. I love that. So basically, the way that I kind of approached Andy too is that she's coming back to camp like, this was great. This was transformative for me. I am going to lead girls exactly the way that I was. I know better than anyone else how hard it is to come to a camp and not gel with people. So I will be the perfect mentor for that. And she really just takes to heart what Dana says in the previous book. Like, we need this kind of leadership. We need a quiet, calm leadership person. And she's like, I can be that. I'm going to be great at that. Now, because I'm evil, I then gave her all campers that are huge volunteers. They are cheerleaders. They don't need anyone to support them to make sure that they're okay. They don't need that at all. They need something completely different. So then I kind of then Andy's like, what do I do with these kids? Okay. They're so close to my age already. So now I also feel like the uncool girl, and I'm supposed to be the leader, and they're just she's like, I think at one point in time, I swear I did this. If I didn't do this, then I must have cut it. But a lot of things got cut. At one point in time, she's like, do you want to play like quiet ball? Do you want to like get settled in your bunks and just like have some chill time before we start anything? And the girls are like, no, we do.
Why would we do that?
Why would we do that? We just got to camp. We've been waiting for this opportunity to like be ourselves all freaking year. And she's like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, we are leaders. We're already leaders. Like, that's why we're here. And she's so at a loss. So I give her basically a different obstacle than the previous year. So now It's not that she doesn't fit in with people. It's that she can't lead people.
Bless her heart. That's rough. On top of having to make other life choices, apparently. Oh, you just really put her through the ringer. I feel like
I really do. But hey, I give her 2 really hot, nice guys. So
listen, oh my
I need to be forgiven, okay? Because she gets Eric, who is like the most adorable, geeky cinnamon roll.
Yes.
Like, and everybody thinks he's super hot at camp. They're like, dude, where do I get one of these gentlemen? Like, he's a legit gentleman. Okay. And then I give her like broody, I wish we were still together, Lucas. Like, she gets a lot of play. Like, so
I mean, and lucky her. There is no better place than summer camp. We've had this to find romance. Like, those summer camp romance is the best. Sometimes you look back and be like, oh, I married him 20 years ago. I mean, it is what it is.
And I will say that one of my favorite parts of writing this new book was making her campers meddle in her love life. It was one of my favorite things, because I was like, okay, so what do we give these kids? Because they are not like, there's no villain, right? Like, that's my whole vibe, is there's no villain except for whatever lives inside of us. You know what I mean? So you can't make anybody like an actual villain. I know some people thought that Susie was the villain in the first book, but I disagree. And people should go to my website and read the prequel scenes of Susie and Tyler. Because those prequel scenes of Susie and Tyler, I think you totally understand where Susie's coming from. She just also couldn't relate. So, but in any case, like, it's a good time, because they're like, they really want her to be with one of the guys and not the other guy. And she's like, look, you don't get a say. Like, and this is not what camp is about, girls. Right. This is not what this is. And they're like, oh, it is now. It is now. And you're an introvert. So watch us make this camp about this now. So it's pretty great.
I cannot wait to get my hands on the book. I'm just going to say. Anyway, maybe I should go back and read the first one for then.
Yeah, it's coming out so soon. It's coming out July 16th. So I mean, I'm excited. It's gonna be good times. So
yeah, it is. So and you don't have to answer this any specific way, but were you happy with the results of your first book after the release and everything? Were you satisfied with that?
I have no expectations of anything. So it's really hard to not be satisfied when I didn't have any bars that I had set. So I was like, I have a book. Check. You know what I mean? So I did a couple of readings, and those were super nerve-wracking, but also really fun. I got to collaborate with some authors in some local events, and I would say that was probably where I shine, because if I have somebody else to work off of like this, it's way easier for me. Which you wouldn't think so. You'd think I'd be good just kind of talking on my own since I'm a teacher. But different. Kids are so different. It's so different because, I mean, that's really scripted. Like, I've been teaching this forever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And talking about your own work, especially when you don't know what questions are being asked all the time, is kind of like, okay, let me take a beat and make sure that I answer this in the most caring way possible. But when there's somebody else to like work off of, you're like, yeah.
Oh, isn't
So
that the truth? I have teamed up and I have found this to be like the best thing ever. There's a couple of book talkers who they liked my book, I like them. And so we'll hop on a live and we'll hang out on a live
uh,
or we're on Facebook and I'm just like, "Yes, you talk about my work and I will answer all the questions." Like I am good
yes.
with that. That's a fantastic setup.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. And
Yes.
I also really like going to other authors' events. So in the last couple of years, I went to go see Lissa K. Adams, and she is the person who writes the Bromance Book Club,
Oh yeah.
if you've ever read those.
Mhm.
And then just this last month, I went and saw Christina Lauren came to Grand Rapids. And so I
Jealous.
was like, ooh, new book.
I love all of her
um,
books.
and
Yeah.
it was just like, I just loved them though, because they just like really work together really well in those like panel sort of discussions. And like they're taking questions from the audience and like they look at each other and be like, this one's for you. Like this is not my question. Or
Nice.
like, and it was super cute. And I love seeing how other people do it. And I
Oh
also
yeah.
just really love buying a lot of books. I buy way too many books. But I do read. I'm a very prolific reader. In fact, when we actually like signed on, I was reading a book.
So, I was like, sorry to interrupt.
I know. Okay, you want to know what I'm reading right now?
Yes.
I am reading A Discovery of Witches. Have you read this?
I have not. I have seen it on Book Talk and I have seen it. It's on my
Okay.
Goodreads actually. Yeah.
So it showed up like a ton of like people on my Goodreads were reading it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple things for it on Book Talk and I was like, interesting, because I'm not usually on that side of Book Talk.
Yeah.
I'm usually on like the YA or the
Mm-hmm.
romance or the whatever side. And I'm not very far into it, but I'm already hooked.
Big
Like
fan.
it is actually really good. It's like this perfect like combination. Watch me pitch this for you, Deborah Harkness. Okay. It's like this perfect combination of like academia and slow burn romance and paranormal and like suspense, like all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, yes,
All of
please.
it,
Yes,
please.
please. Okay. I will take this. Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know what it's called. Not proofreading, and it's not an alpha or a beta read. I'm screening a book to. I had told an author that I would screen his book to see if it was one we could do a newsletter swap with, and it's always nerve-wracking for me because I'm not familiar with his
Mm-hmm.
work, and
Yeah.
I was like, sure, I'll read it, but I won't review it. I don't review other people's work unless I absolutely love it, and so you'll never know if I like it or not. But yeah,
That's always such a hard place to
it
be.
is.
I like made the decision very early on when I knew I was going to start publishing, and I know this is terrible, but I kind of cleared my accounts of things I had
Yeah.
done previously because like when you're in college or whatever. And so I will either 5-star a book and write a review, or I'll write a review, but I won't star at all.
That's fair.
And the review is like of what the book was about and the vibes, like here are the vibes, to try and help that
Yes.
author. Even if it wasn't my 5-star, it's probably someone's 5-star, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but like I'm doing my best to try and boost other voices. So
That is so hard. I am one of those. I have two Goodreads accounts. I have one that is my author account, and I have one that is for my personal reference. Because for me, I read reviews so that I know whether or not I want to read a book. I don't read the reviews as an author, going, oh, I do want people to like my book, and yes, those reviews help because it draws attention to my work. But I don't go looking for reviews as an author. And so on my personal Goodreads, I have like 3 followers, maybe 4 that are allowed to see what I read. For the most part, I don't show people what I read, and I use stars only. I never leave reviews, just stars, so I know. Don't go back and read this book, and that's it. Like it's a personal reading record. That's it.
I like it. I like it.
Because
Yeah,
that
I
is
am.
risky. It's so risky.
It feels risky. And then like I also, um, in my maiden name before I got married, I was also an ARC reader.
Oh,
So like those were all very honest. So those stand,
yeah,
right? Like
that's fair.
because you're not going to pull ARC reader
Yeah.
like things that you've done, right? But since I've been a foster, I haven't done any ARC reading. So I've been having children mostly. So
I mean, there are worse things you could be doing with your time.
right, yeah, we're starting a family, so
I mean, why
um
not?
yeah. Oh, they're so cute too, and we're really ready to be done with school right now. We've
Oh.
got 2 days left, so We just have to make it through the next 2 days.
You can do this.
All of us, like me too. So, I mean, I just think my 8th graders are a little done with me too. So I'm like, it's
You
cool.
know
We
they
can
are.
make it. We got it. We got this. Watch the movie. You know, like it's gonna be fine. We're watching The Outsiders because we just finished reading The Outsiders.
Nice.
So
That's awesome. We've been done with school for a while. We get out the week before Memorial Day. And
oh wow.
Yeah, so we've been out for a hot minute, but they go back early August.
Oh,
so.
see, yeah, no. Well, I think it's, like, I'm sure that's weather related too, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Because in Michigan, it doesn't even start getting nice until right now.
That's
so,
true.
like, we don't have really very good weather. And we're currently still kind of in thunderstormy weather. Like, it's not going to go for another, like, couple weeks probably, like, and to be, like, actual summer, right? And then we go back to school in like the last week of August or like the first week of September, depending on construction, because our schools are always under construction. Because I'm just going to throw this out there, Zeeland Public Schools. You are the bougiest district I have ever worked in. And we're always improving some things.
I mean.
Like there's always something happening. Or it's like, we're redoing the gym, or we're going to come in and redo all of these fire alarms. Even though the old fire alarms work, you all need new clocks because these clocks are better than the clocks that you had. And I'm like, okay, like I'm here for it. Like
tax dollars at work. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it is too. And it's, like we have a really supportive community over here. So that's really nice because they never say no to the schools. We've got some like really old families who put a lot of backing behind schools, which is cool and not the norm, and definitely not where I'm from because I'm a transplant. I am from a very tiny little town where like we had drive your tractor to work day or drive your tractor to school day, like that type of thing. So like coming into this district where it's like, oh, if your son wants to be a diver, he better start in 3rd grade. Like we have a diving camp for 3rd graders. So I had to start my son diving in 3rd grade so that he would have a chance. And they're like, you're also going to want to put him in gymnastics. Like you need to start thinking about this when they're in 2nd grade. And I'm like, cool. We will get right on that. Our school didn't even have a pool growing up. Right. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Whew.
We'll get right on that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I even went to a very affluent school in like elementary and middle school, and no, we were not that either. But everybody else did like the club ball and the club swim and all the club
it's called
sports.
Travel here. Like travel, they call it travel because in Michigan you can't do anything next to each other. Everything is a 4 to 6 hour drive for no real reason, right? Like they call it travel ball here. And I told my sons in no uncertain terms, like, this is just me. I'm like, if you want to play more than one sport in your life, we're not doing travel anything because you're going to miss the seasons for those other sports. So you have to decide whether you want to be a well-rounded sports person or if you're going to be a travel person. Because if you're going to be travel, that's your one sport.
Oh yeah, that becomes like their identity. Like, cause like, now it is travel here. Yeah.
And I just think that that's realistic, right?
Yeah,
so
it's fair.
But anyway, that was way off topic. Okay.
It is, but it also brings me to ask you this. Like, how do you balance, like, you have a full-time job with people and kids. You have kids and a family. How do you balance that creativity? Like, how does that work? Because I know when I get busy, I can't be creative. Like, I struggle with that.
Prioritizing is just like the biggest. I mean, like, it sounds so, I don't know, like hippy dippy of me, I guess, or whatever. Like, I don't know, but I have to prioritize. So like, for me, normally I like to write a lot of books. And this year I've actually taken a step back from writing a lot in order to be doing revisions.
That's fair.
Because I only have so much time, and my time, to be perfectly honest, during the school year is about an hour on Saturday, an hour on Sunday, and an hour after the kids go to bed if I still have any brain space left. Right. So my kids don't go to bed now because they're getting older until like 8:30-ish. We send them up there. Right. So like I have like between 8:30 and 9:30 before I'm basically falling asleep on the couch right now. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, that being said, sometimes I like, if I'm in the middle of like a really big, like, ooh, we're in like last edits or we're in last whatever, like I'll take a personal day from school or I'll tell my husband, hey, I need you to take the kids like this whole day and go do something. And so he'll take them on like a dad and son adventure
That's
or whatever
fun.
while I go do things. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just think a lot of it is teamwork, and I don't think any of it would be possible without my partner.
Isn't that
So
the
because
truth?
he's just,
Yes.
I mean, he's the backbone of how all of this happens. And actually the person that I dedicated the second book to.
Oh,
So
I love that. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't know. We only have one kid, and she's involved in enough stuff that it still takes both of us to figure things out. He works
yeah.
outside of the home, I work at the home, and sometimes those don't overlap correctly. And so it's like, all
Yeah.
right, let's figure this out.
Yeah. Well, and we're knee deep in baseball season right
Mm.
now. And it goes for another week, maybe two, because my kids' team might be in the playoffs.
Ooh,
That'd be cool. Um, maybe, I
yeah.
don't know, this next game decides it all.
No
And
pressure.
regardless, it's gonna be
Right.
great. So, yeah, but like we go to every game. You know,
Yeah.
like there's never a game where I'm dropping my kid off, like have a good
I
game. Like
can't imagine.
that's
Yeah.
not our family. We are there for everything. And now sadly, because both our boys are kind of like in little league in the same town, a lot of the games are at the same time. And so Andrew's like, all right, I've got this kid this time, you take this kid this time, and we'll switch next time.
Switch.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, all right. So just make sure that we get to an even number of everybody's stuff, right? So it's a busy time, and we got a lot going on. So really prioritizing the writing, like what has to be done. And then, just making sure that all the major tasks are completed. And then honestly, because I'm a teacher, I do have more availability during the summer to do actual drafting. And so that's my big hope is I'm working on 2 different projects, hopefully this summer, and get both of them drafted. And then I don't know whether this book that I'm drafting right now will be for publication or for myself, but I feel like I always have to keep my hand in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So is Andy done then? Are we putting her to bed after this book?
yes, Andy is done. It's a duology. Ooh, let me tell you my favorite thing though about this. Okay. So I work with this really, really talented cover artist. And she made it so that if you line the spines up, the forest actually continues and it's like the same tree. It's like the
I
same tree.
love
And I'm like,
that.
this is the most ASMR thing you could have possibly done for me. And I am here for it.
That's so
So
good.
yeah, but it's a duology, and I felt like the colors kind of complemented. Sorry,
They're
the colors
so
kind of
pretty.
complemented each other because like we've got like the more orangey tone, and then we've got the
Yes.
more sunset. So like, beginning of like sunrise sunset kind of moment, right? So
Yes. I have the ebook of the first one, but now I'm going to have to get both books, like actual books, because one, they're clearly in my color scheme. I love those colors. And so all
she
about
did
it.
such a great job.
They're so
Rajen,
pretty.
yeah, Rajen Pavan. She is just like, I don't know, she's so talented. So I
I
liked it.
wish I wish I could do that kind of stuff, but at the same time, I'm glad I can't. Like
I
I would
can't.
be, yeah. I
I'm
try.
I'm
I
fully
can't.
hopeless.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way. I know my strengths, and that is not it.
Right.
So
I
I
love that.
kudos to people who are just so artistic in that way.
Yes.
I can't even wish that I was because it's so far outside of anything I can do. My students are like, is that supposed to be like a person when I'm drawing on the board for them, like trying to plot out like things that happened in the book? And I'm like, yes, it's supposed to be a person. Moving on.
Yes. So my daughter is 14 and she is an artist. I don't know where it came from, but she can look at something and draw it. She imagines something and draw it. It's just one of those things. And I'm like, that's not fair. And then she had the audacity before she knew how to filter her words to make fun of my art abilities. And I was like, you know what? That's not really nice because I taught you how to use the toilet. You know what I mean? Like it was like,
That's right. That is right. That is so true.
Don't
Right?
mock me.
Yeah, I brought my kids in for like bring your kids to work day. I do a half day. You can bring your kids in for the whole day, but I have 2
No.
very young boys. And so I brought them in for like a half day, and they were so bored because it's like it's like an 8th grade English class. Like I trying to make this fun for you, but you are a different category
Completely.
of child, right? Like these kids are in the middle of a project or whatever, right? And so they just take all of my expo markers and they go to the back board and they draw all the Pokemon they can remember. And they're actually really good illustrations. And the kids are like, well, they obviously get that from their dad because we like we still can't figure out what you're drawing. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, they will
Yuck
humble
it
you
up.
so fast.
Yeah. Yuck it up, man. So
that's hilarious. Oh, I love it. And I am a little jealous that people can do those creative things. But I also have to remind myself I have my own versions of creativity that other people don't.
Yes, you are an author.
That's right. That's my art. That's what I do.
That's a huge amount of creativity
Yes.
over a long period of time with an extreme amount of concentration. Like, I think... Yes. I mean, like I am too, so that kind of seems self-serving, but like,
no, but it's true.
It's like a whole vibe. Like it's a whole thing. It's a specific thing. You have to almost be like an obsessive person in order to be an author, I think. Because if you're not obsessed with your idea, you're not going to finish it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or I get so overworked up about it that I'm just like, okay, now I can't finish it. And that's where I am right now. I've got book 1, 2, and 3 for this series. Book 1's out. Book 2 is written and is with beta readers. And book 3 is written and just waiting to be looked at. And book 4, I've written like 14 chapters. Some of them are at the end and some of them at the beginning because I am a pantser like nobody's business. Like there is no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a 1, 7, 2, 9 epilogue. Come back to it, And so, I'm so like, it's got to work out so perfectly because there's just this huge pivot in the book that I'm like, I got to get to this point, and I've gotten myself so overthought that I can't think clearly. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to walk away for a minute. I don't need it right now.
So you take a pause. You usually take a pause. Do you read or what do you do during your pause?
I read obsessively. Like it's almost one of like some people bite their fingernails. I will read, I don't know, a whole book a day for like 2 weeks or whatever if I have that kind of time, because I just have to. My brain has to go anywhere else.
You got to fill the well too. Like
yes, and I read
other
outside,
people's creativity. Yeah,
but I read outside of what I'm trying to write. Like I don't want anybody else's ideas coming onto my work in that moment that I'm trying to figure out. It's kind of like I'm letting my subconscious process outside. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It sounds kind of weird, but that's what I do.
No, I like that. I think that like a lot of people have like different processes for that. Like I also will read, but I won't read in my genre.
Yeah.
So I'll read, but like I'll read like a Discovery of Witches. Like that's very different from what I'm writing. Like, you know what I mean? And so like I'll read super spicy romance and then I'll come back to my little high school like drama romance that I'm writing. You know what I mean? Or I'll read like I'll read nonfiction. I'll read like how to organize your drawers or whatever. Like I'm here for it though. Like
I love it.
But I'm also a fan of jogging because it is something that I am specifically really bad at. Ooh. This is why I like it. Because I can't think about anything else except for surviving.
Breathing. Yeah.
So it really helps like just clear the deck. Like I don't think about books. It helps though, because as soon as I'm done running, then I'm like, oh, this is how to fix it. Or, oh, this is like, but while I'm running, I am just like, I don't know if I look it or not. I don't ever want to see myself running, to be perfectly honest with you. But like a little turtle who's real bad at jogging, with my headphones on and like fighting for my actual life. And it makes me happy. I don't really know why, but I like doing it.
I don't know if my book is worth trying to run. I don't know if I'd be willing to take that.
And they say like, I was funny because I went to the doctor the other day, just like, for your checkup or whatever. And she's like, well, at your age, we don't actually like say to start running at your age. Like this is when we start moving into walking so that you don't get knee problems. And I was like, oh, you have me confused for somebody who actually was sporty in high school. Like my knees are totally great because I did nothing during that time that was in any way sporty. I was on like the dance team. Like, I guess that's like the closest we got was me to being on a hip hop dance team during like basketball games. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about my knees. Like, do not worry. They are unused, ma'am. Like,
Good as new.
that are good as new. And she's just laughing. She's like, okay.
Love it. Yeah, I was in marching band, and it was the roll step, not the high step. So I think I'd be fine in that case.
I was in roll step marching band too. Like I was a marching band, dance team, golf. That was my sport, which is not. It wasn't a sport, like it was a club. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we didn't even classify it really as a sport. Like, you know what I mean? So my knees are just great. They will be just fine. Worry about my husband's knees, who was all state track, because his knees are shot.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who actually did anything when they were a kid, their knees are shot. Mine are
You
good.
know they
Mine
are.
are
Yeah, we're good. We're golden. We're good. We took care of ourselves.
Right. I was preserving myself for the specific moment when I needed to clear my mind by being bad at something so that I could write, which is a thing that also takes zero cardio. So
It's so funny. I love that. No, that is so true though. Like I have to, whatever the distraction is, I have to distract myself. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know that running would be the case, but there are definitely plenty of books out there that I have picked up and thought, oh, I'm just going to read a couple chapters. The next thing you know, I'm through the whole book. And it's like,
yes,
I probably should have done laundry today. Nope.
Oh man, I really like, I fell down like the Jennifer Armentrout, Sarah J. Maas rabbit hole at one point, and I don't know if I ever fully recovered because I kind of just want to live there most of the time when I'm doing my distraction reading.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because
it's so different from what I do, and I'm like, this is fabulous. And I will stand Cassian for my whole life. Everyone's like, oh, it's Reese. Oh, it's, I'm like, no. Out of this whole universe, I am the unlikable character Nesta, and I need a Cassian. So like, that is what I need. Like, I need Cassian. Like, he is perfect.
See, I am Nesta as well in so many ways, but at the same time, Azriel, I was like, oh, sweetheart, like, I just
but I don't know. Well, and I keep thinking, is she going to write a book where Az gets together with the sister? What's the sister?
I hope so. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He needs something. He needs his happy to get out of the shadows. Elaine, yes.
Right?
He needs his, yes.
Yeah. And, and they have like a little connection, but she's like mated with Lucian or whatever, Lucian. Okay, anyway. ACOTAR, it's a rabbit hole.
It is.
So Sarah J. Maas, Jennifer Armentrout, I got hooked into those two because I was like, yes, give me all this. Also, like, I love books where the twist is not obvious, but I call it right before so that I feel good about myself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it was like 2 pages before, and I was like, oh, it's going to be this. And then it was that, and I was like, I am a goddess. I read books for a living, pretty much. So
I could have written this. I would have written this. This is exactly what I would have done.
I would not have written that because I would not have thought of that, but that was great, and it was
good.
Coming. So I was here for it. Ooh, what one did I read? It was very like in that vibe. These Hollow Vows. Have you read that? Oh, if you like Sarah J. Maas, read These Hollow Vows. Yeah, it's all this. It's like Jennifer Armentrout, Sarah J. Maas, and then These Hollow Vows. They're all like in the same little, like together. So I like that one too. And that's a duology. That's a duology. So there's two. I may have a thing for duologies, so
I can throw down 2.
Yeah, I can
even if they're this big.
2 is 2, like it's just 2, right? So,
I mean, it's 700 pages, but
Well, but do you ever notice it as much when you're on your Kindle though?
I do not.
I don't notice it. I did not know that the Sarah J. Maas books were that long until I went and was like, I need trophies for my bookcase. You know what I mean? Like, do you ever buy trophies? Like, I love these so much that I will also read them in paperback type of thing. Like, I like them so much on my Kindle that now I will also be needing the paperback so that when I do my rereads, when I'm trying not to be on screens, like on the beach, I can have them I know them. Like, they're like comfort, right?
Yes.
So I went and got them, and I was like, this could stop a door.
Seriously.
This could stop an emergency door at my school. Like, this is huge. I like took it to school, and I was like reading it, like the the Silver Flames one, which is like the biggest, like mammoth,
Yes.
like tome you've ever seen. And the kids are like, is that like multiple books in one? And I'm like, you would think it is not. And reading this within the next 2 days. Yes. And they're like, there's no way you can read that in 2 days. And I'm like, well, we can't bet because I'm your teacher, but if we did, you would lose because I've already read this and I really like it.
I'm telling you. I think so. When I read those, I listened to them as audiobooks, and I enjoyed that as well. That was a nice. The second time I read them,
do you listen to your audiobooks on 1.5 or 2-point speed?
Minimum 1.5.
Minimum 1.5. Mm-hmm. Do you find that all audiobooks kind of have to have like 1.5, or are some of them good like in regular speed?
I have never heard one that was good in regular speed ever, because you know their goal is to read. So that I'm not an audiobook person,
so I'm just like so interested in that.
And what's really okay, so 1.5 minimum for me. My husband, however, who has a mild form of dyslexia, who listens to all of his books, he will listen at 1.75 and higher and still comprehend the whole thing. And I'm going, wait, how do you, what the, huh? Because I can't.
Because his oral like is higher developed, because he had to develop it higher because he has,
But not me. I'm going, wait, whoa, 1.75? No.
Yeah, I struggle to concentrate for audiobooks, actually. So like unless I'm trapped in a car on a road trip, like it can't really happen for me. Like if I'm in a traffic jam, I got in a nice traffic jam a couple years ago and ended up listening to like Fever because I had to teach it the next year. I was like, well, let's pull this up on YouTube because I'm not paying for things right now. Like, click, and let's just see how far we make it. I made it 3/4 of the way through that darn book. Like, it was intense. I was like, but I didn't know the whole 1.5, 1.75 audible thing at the time. So I was just sitting there suffering.
No, it's rough like that. And that's one of those things that I'm in the process. I've got a Kickstarter going to fund, like to crowdfund turning my books into audiobooks, because there are people who need audiobooks, and I love the idea, but they're so expensive to produce. And I am not going to sit there and read my book. Like I don't want to. I just don't. I don't want to hear myself read it. I just don't.
I have considered it, because there have been a lot of people who've asked me to put Andy into audiobook, and it's not currently a thing that my publisher does, though they are considering it for the future. But like with the books that they currently have out, it's like, unless you're funding it yourself, it's not gonna, it's not gonna fly. But I'm like, I feel like more people reached, like if I did it, so like I'm considering it, because I mean, I do read aloud every single day to children. But my thing is, can I slow myself down enough to do it?
Yes, that's
because I read so fast. Like if I were reading Andy and I were reading the first page, it would be something like, the last day of junior year was a wreck. Like that's already, like it's already too fast. Like that's already like, nope.
I'm the same way. I read so fast. It's really funny. Speaking of reading out loud. So the second book in the series that I'm writing, I started reading it aloud to my husband and kiddo on the way home from a Memorial Day trip that we had taken. I was like, hey, I'm going to read to y'all. And they're like, okay. And I realized reading my own work aloud, I hate it because I hate reading it to other people. I'll read it to myself. That's fine. But I don't want other people's reactions I don't want to see their reactions to my work. I don't know why. I just don't like it. But I heard so many things that I needed to fix. I was like,
I hate that too.
Right.
And everyone's like, when you got I just got these from my publisher like recently, like, did you read it? I'm like, absolutely not.
Nope. Why would I do that?
No, I'll be reading like the one chapter that I'll be doing for like podcasts that's call for that, or readings that call for that. Like we'll be reading that one chapter aloud, but I do not plan. Like I do kind of plan on having Alzheimer's at some point, and in that case, I'll reread my books. You know what I mean?
Book. Who wrote this?
Like, did I write this? That's cool.
That's amazing.
I do sort of plan on that. But until that time comes, like I have seen this book so many times now that if I find more errors in it, it's just going to drive me up the wall.
Yes.
So I'm good.
Yeah, no, and so we made it through. Let's see, the way home we made it through a couple of chapters, and then the next night they were like, "Hey, will you read it?" And I was like, "Sure." So I read. Anyway, we made it to like chapter 11 or 12, and my kid was like, "Hey, you know you use this word this many times," and I was like, "Nope, I was not aware of that until now." Thank you for pointing that out.
Just tell your kid that S.E. Hinton, who wrote The Outsiders, which is a classic, uses gallant in almost every single chapter, and that is not a normal word.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I was like, I'm just pulling like the classics, you know. I want to be like the classic authors.
It's repetition for a reason. Did you grasp the theme? Like, did you get it?
And then immediately the next day I said, will you text that to me so I'll remember? Because then I went and fixed it. I was like, you're right, that was too many.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what word it was, but I was
I
just
have
like,
crutch words when I write my first draft.
Yes. That had to be what it was.
Well, and it's only noticeable if it's like a word that's specific to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I just got into the habit. I heard it in my head over and over again.
Well, and because nobody's going to notice if you say said a million times because we don't even hear that word when we read, right?
Yeah.
But if you say something like gallant, like people are going to be like, why is gallant in this book so much? Like, why is, right? Like it happens. I have that with teaching too. Like kids, my very first year teaching, my students, they splice together. They're not even supposed to have their phones. So like, this was my thing. I was like, how did you get this footage? Right? Like they spliced together footage of me starting class every day for 100 days. And every single day I started class the same way. And it was, here we go. Like every day, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And then they put it on, it was really smart actually. They underlaid it with like the Mario, here we go, here we go, here we go. Like, and it was just like a straight half an hour of me clapping my hands and going, here we go, in different outfits. I was like, that took a lot of effort on your part. Like that must have taken so many hours. So I appreciate the work that went into this completely superfluous project that did not need to happen. And you haven't even turned in your essay, but
right.
You did create this video.
And here we go, 0.
So here we go.
I think that's a sign that they really care about you, though. That's pretty fantastic.
It was pretty funny.
Like they picked up on it.
I just about died. I was like, oh. And I don't even have the video anymore because, you know, like things have changed so much since my first year teaching, which was in 2010. Like all the tech changed and everything moved over and it just got lost on some like zip drive, some flash drive, some little thumb drive somewhere because that's what we used to use, these little thumb drives, you know, in 2010. And I don't want to date myself by saying what we used before that, but let's be real.
I have some of them sitting around actually in a drawer. They're about this big and they're plastic and
Yep, we sure did.
Indeed.
I even had the ones that you could
Heck yeah.
Back in the day.
Yes.
Back
you
in
just
the
swap
day.
them out. Oh man. Okay. Well, I want to ask you, what are you planning for your book launch? How are you going to launch it on launch day? You got anything wild and exciting planned?
I am having a beach party. Yeah. So we are just like whoever wants to is just going to show up on a beach and we're just going to chill. We're just going to hang. And then I will, like a drug dealer out of the back of my car, whatever copies people want, I'll just take the cash for them like a creepy person before we leave.
Your trench coat. Yeah.
Yeah, my trench coat, my little, like, here's Andy in the summer
What book
or something.
you want?
What book do you want? Right. But no, like it's not even so much like a sales thing or like an actual author event so much as like I just want to enjoy that moment because I feel like I did that whole like with my very first book. I was like, here's my author clothing, here's my author launch, here's my like we're going to go to this store, then this store, then this store. We're going to take all the pictures and then we're going to splice them together and put them into a TikTok. We're going to put them into a whatever. You know what I mean? And this time around, I'm like, I'll get that done within that week sometime. And like we'll still do it because marketing is important. But I also just really am into enjoying life and enjoying like the accomplishment of finishing the duology. I'm going to get my toenails done in the covers colors from Andy and the Extroverts and my fingernails done in the color covers, the cover colors for Andy in the Summer of Something.
Love it.
And I'm just going to hang out on the beach with my husband and my friends. And
I love that.
That's just the plan. So
that sounds like a great plan. I think book launches don't have to be as planned out and as scheduled and as, formal as they might have you believe.
Well, I mean, and I also think it's like, what's your goal here? Like, my goal is to have a great time. And also, like, if I do get footage of that day where I'm just randomly doing stuff, like, what better than a beach for a beach read? Yes, like, I could spin that. I can spin anything, really. I saw this author on TikTok, and it was like, they're always so short, right? And she just made me laugh so hard because it was just her walking through snow and going up to a trash can, and then her saying, "Do you like to read total trash? Then you should check out this novel." And I'm like, it's effective because here I am. I'm just a raccoon. Like, I'm here for it. Like, that was really effective marketing. Yes, please add to cart. Like,
it stuck with you too. Like,
like, I was like, so you can really spin anything because it doesn't require a lot. And so what do I like doing the most during the summer? I like being on the beach. I live really close to Lake Michigan, and it's just gorgeous. So
I love that. That sounds good to me. I'm all about a good beach party. That's where I grew up at. Well, it was an Alabama beach, not a Michigan beach, but I grew up at the beach, and that's my happy place, and I would go back in a heartbeat. You to tell listeners how they can connect with you and your work so they know where to find Andy and where they can hang out with you themselves, because they would be so fortunate.
Yeah, so the easiest way to do that is to go to jessicakfoster.com, and all of my socials are linked there. You get a blog of my favorite romances if you go there. So
excellent. And I have one last final question. It is the big question, and we ask everybody, and nobody's gotten it wrong so far. And so I'm going to ask you the big question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is one piece of advice or encouragement you want listeners to walk away with if they hear nothing else?
If you're thinking about writing a book and you're asking yourself, should I do it? Just do it. Yeah. Just go for it. Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Are you going to quit? Okay, that's all right.
You've written
if you finish it, sounds great.
Yeah.
So like it's such a low cost, like low like it's a high investment when you find that out, right? Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people are like, ooh, could I do it? Yes, you could. Yes, mm-hmm. You could. And your thoughts will be different than other people's. Everybody's so scared of plagiarizing, but like I even found another book that is a lot like Andy and the Extroverts the other day that I was actually reading because I like summer camp books in general. Right. Yeah. And they had some of the same themes in it, but it was such a different twist that I was like, dang, I'm here for this. It's fine because we're never going to see the same things the same way. And so your viewpoint is valid. So that's my advice. Your viewpoint is valid. If you want to write a book, you should do it.
I love that. Oh, yeah. How many CSIs did they make? And how many NCIS spinoffs were there? And how many,
and how many people come back to romance and young adult romance? Yes. And they're just always searching because, like, readers are hungry for what they want. I think TikTok has proven that to us. Yes. Like it's book talk all over again. Mm-hmm. We all want to read the same things over and over again because it's comforting. And it's not ever the same exact thing. There's always something exciting about different people's work. So
exactly. No, I love that advice because it's true. If you get through it, like you said, you have a book to show for it. If you didn't, you've probably got some mental health and wellness that you've improved because for me, that's writing, and I'm like, oh, I've been to my therapist today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a reason that we put Andy through so many horrible things, right? Like,
bless her heart. I cannot wait till you see her happily ever after because
it's
oh my god,
humorous. It's humorous, and we give her boys. It's humorous, and we give her boys. So
she's living the life. I'm telling you, like
she is. She's living the dream.
Oh man. Well, Jessica, thanks so much for hanging out and having this conversation. All the conversations that we had.
Right.
There wasn't just one conversation. And I hope that Andy finds her happy place wherever that may be. I cannot wait to find out on July 16th. Everybody needs to go buy the first book now and read it. And then the second book when it comes out.
Yes. And if you see me at an author fair, which as we've noted, is like few and far between. But if you see me at one, I'll sell you them both for $5 less than you would get the series normally. So, but you got to see me in person for that one.
Let me start booking my flight.
Yep. Come on up. You book a
$5.
flight up here. You show up here. We're just gonna have to like go get like a hotel and like hang out and like eat food and like brainstorm with each other. Like it's gonna be a whole event if you come up here. I can tell you that right now.
Gosh! Don't tempt me with a good time, because listen, July's looking pretty empty right now.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, I hope that everything goes swimmingly for your book launch, and I'm sure that we will talk again very soon.
Yes.